It's just Nikki Haley and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis left chasing former President Trump for the Republican nomination. DeSantis may have finished second in Iowa, but he was still 30 points behind the former president. Joining me now, Texas Congressman Chip Roy. Congressman Roy is one of a handful of House Republicans to endorse Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Let me say in advance, this interview will be conducted due to the tender mercies of hotel internet connections, Manchester and New Hampshire. Congressman, good to see you. As a surrogate for Governor DeSantis, describe the current state of that campaign and perhaps argue against the perception that after Iowa it is in a severe state of distress.
Hey, Major, great to be on. And look, we're in Manchester. We woke up in Iowa, I think yesterday morning, if I have my days straight. Went down to Greenville, had a great event with, I think, almost 1,000 people in an airport hangar in Greenville that showed up with great enthusiasm. We've been to multiple locations now in New Hampshire. Had a great event just a little while ago. A lot of enthusiasm and a great event last night on Rival Network on CNN, and had a great town hall with a lot of folks there. And it was good. And look, there's a lot of enthusiasm. And look, let's remember, half of the people in Iowa chose somebody different than former President Trump. And in fact, with respect to former Governor Haley, 7,000 of the Democrats that voted, most of those went to Nikki Haley. So there's a large block of Republicans who chose Governor Ron DeSantis. We're making that message clear out here in New Hampshire. And we'll see. I mean, look, obviously President Trump won. Obviously there's a big block of support for him. But we think we've got a message that's resonating, somebody who can serve for 8 years, and that America deserves a choice. So we're going to keep marching ahead.
Congressman, it has been confirmed to CBS News that for the duration of time, basically from today until Tuesday's New Hampshire primary, Governor DeSantis will either be in Florida or South Carolina, suggesting he's moving his chips to South Carolina away from New Hampshire. Fair characterization?
Well, I mean, we're in New Hampshire right now. We've got another event in a couple of hours. Spent a lot of time in the last 2 days here in New Hampshire. The governor is going to go home, I think, to Florida. I don't want to get too out in the weeds, but he see his family for a day. But he's got a lot of things on the books. I think they're still working on the schedule. I think South Carolina is definitely on the docket. And that doesn't mean that he won't come back to New Hampshire. They're kind of working through that. But a lot of support in New Hampshire, a lot of support in South Carolina. We'll see what happens. I mean, look, we're realistic about like what we recognize in Iowa. I mean, the governor went all in there, and he came in second place. Came in second place again with a whole lot of Democrats voting and $40 million spent against him. But again, half of the people who showed up to the polls didn't vote for President Trump. By the way, only 110,000 Republicans showed up in Iowa. We're trying to do something different and try to generate enthusiasm. We're doing that and trying to do it on the ground in South Carolina and New Hampshire. We believe the people deserve a choice, and we're going to keep moving forward.
Congressman, I know you don't speak for the super PAC, Never Back Down, but it has also been confirmed to CBS News that as of today, 15 staffers on that super PAC have been let go. The entire Nevada team for Governor DeSantis let go. That will add to the perception of not only money problems, but momentum problems.
Well, look, I mean, I can't speak for the super PAC. I know I've been doing events. I just did an event that was put on by Never Back Down. So, they're the ones that have to decide that. You know the drill in terms of coordination between entities. And so I'm not fully advised, but here's what I do know is that I believe in Governor DeSantis. I believe that Republicans should have somebody that they can put their full faith behind. I'm on the campaign trail because of my son, who's 14, and my daughter, who's 12. I want them to be able to look at the occupant in the Oval Office, put their full faith and belief in that individual, be proud of the President of the United States. I want somebody who can serve for 8 years and take this country forward. And I'm going to keep delivering that message to the American people. Look, I call balls and strikes. I criticize my Republican colleagues, Democrat colleagues equally. I'll criticize former President Trump, current President Biden. I'll criticize folks equally to defend the positions that I believe in. I think Governor Ron DeSantis is a great guy, and I'm happy to be running alongside him.
And Congressman, right now for Governor DeSantis, who is the principal opponent, Nikki Haley or former President Trump?
Well, I mean, he's trying to sell his message to the American people the direction he wants to go. I think Governor Haley, with all due respect, all she's done is diminish the likelihood of having a head-to-head battle of people who can win a Republican nomination with Republican voters. She's getting most of her support from Democrats, independents, and the moderates who will not pick the Republican nominee in this primary. That's the plain truth. She knows it, and that's unfortunate. She dumped $40 million into, well, combined, there was $40 million out. She dumped like $25 or $26 million into Iowa, $1 million in the last couple of days. She still finished third, and she did that knowing full well her support came from Democrats. So we'll see what happens in New Hampshire. She's not going to win her own home state in South Carolina. I think that tells you a lot. So we'll see what happens over here in the next couple of weeks.
Answer me this, if you could, Congressman. If Ron DeSantis, after finishing second and a distant second in Iowa, finishes third in New Hampshire and second in South Carolina, how is that a practical path forward to Super Tuesday?
Well, again, I know the governor's looking at all of this and trying to figure out how he's going to move forward. I think his message is resonating. And again, part of it's just working hard. And, you know, as a country, we used to let this play out a little bit instead of the media coming in and making the decisions. I mean, look, it was a really early call in Iowa. I hadn't even spoken. I hadn't spoken at all at the caucus where President Trump, Nikki Haley showed up. Vivek was there. I didn't even get a chance to speak before they called it. I don't think that's right. The media wants to decide this stuff early. Literally, we had about 5% of Republicans in the 31st biggest state who have decided so far in Iowa where they landed, and half of them didn't choose President Trump. We're trying to make sure there's an option on the table. But again, to run campaigns, you got to have money. You got to be able to keep going, and we'll see what happens. And I know the folks are kind of looking at that for Governor DeSantis.
Congressman, you have a job in Washington also. It's a significant job. What can you tell us about your position about the looming continuing resolution and the Senate talks about immigration policy changes?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was, again, just meeting with a bunch of folks here in New Hampshire. It's not just my own constituents in Texas. I've been on the road in Iowa. None of them want a continuing resolution of the Nancy Pelosi spending levels that are continuing to bankrupt our country and continue to fund a government that is not doing its job, that's undermining our freedom, that's funding a UN that has money that goes to Gaza and goes to Hamas. Nobody wants that that's out here in real America. So, of course, you know, Republicans in Washington, swamp Republicans, will do exactly the same old, kick the can down the road and do another CR. And you know, I think that's a mistake. But it's the worst part about it is it's a continuing resolution to fund at those levels, only to buy time to fund at higher levels. That's your Republican Party, the so-called fiscal conservatives. I disagree with it. I'm going to fight it and try to make sure that we do the right thing. But if the speaker is going to continue to move stuff by suspending the rules in kind of a coalition style to move big spending bills, well, you know, that's his call. I don't think that's going to inspire Republicans very much. And, you know, we'll see the supplemental bill. I mean, look, that thing that they're talking about in the Senate should be dead on arrival in the House. I do think the speaker has been right about that. We shouldn't be focusing on sending money over to Ukraine when we can't even secure our own border. The bill they're talking about, with all due respect to Senator Langford, it won't secure the border. It's got amnesty in it. It doesn't have the security measures that are needed to protect people in Texas. So I will not support that, and I hope the House Republicans won't either.
Very quickly, Congressman Roy, if that continuing resolution passes, will you sponsor any effort to get rid of Speaker Mike Johnson?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to get into all that kind of inside the Beltway drama. I mean, I will say we've got all the tools that are there for a reason. We need to hold Republicans accountable to do what they said they would do, increasing spending along the Nancy Pelosi levels and higher, and not securing the border of the United States. That's not getting the job done. And they're tired. The American people are tired of excuses. Frankly, that's why I support Governor DeSantis. He gets the job done. He's done it for the people of Florida. He'll do it for America. We just need more Americans to be able to see that message while the media is all in the tank for President Trump.
That's something I've never been accused of, Congressman Chip Roy. We thank you for your time. Safe travels in New Hampshire and South Carolina.
Take care, Major.